What's going on, everybody? LK here, and I'm here with Beast Coast. I'm going to have a debate with Mr. R about manga versus anime. Which is better? I'm going to be defending anime, and Mr. R is going to be defending manga.
Okay, so I feel like they're both easily accessible, but because anime is so popular, so much more popular, people tend to lean more towards the anime side. Even though there's like plenty of apps on your phone for manga, like you can just download an app and read all the manga in the world on your phone. It's pretty accessible, and it doesn't require like a subscription fee like Crunchyroll. So I'd say it's pretty accessible, but then again, anime is also fairly accessible. There's like sites like Crunchyroll, or even like third-party websites. So I'd say they're both equally accessible.
I'm going to have to disagree, and I think anime is more accessible for
Hmm.
a few reasons. So, one, you're kind of right about like Crunchyroll needing a subscription, and then there's like free manga apps and stuff. But, so this is, for example, this is actually why I know anything about Dragon Ball Super while Dragon Ball Fighters was going on. There are, and this is not good. I actually don't like that people do this, but people upload anime clips, and like there's a literal anime series of this is the only parts of Dragon Ball Super that you need, and it's all like 3 to 4 minute clips. You just watch them on YouTube. And the other important thing is that people don't like to read in 2020. So with manga, you have to literally read it, and that kind of sucks. Anime, especially for those dub people, we're not gonna get into dub versus sub, but for those dub people, they dislike reading so much that they don't even want to read subtitles, but they still have an option available for them.
I
And
mean,
that's what you're going to use to bring your friends in. You're not going to tell your friend, like, yo, check out this book that you have to read from right to left, or just to make sense if you read English, and then
I
like you have
do.
to do all this stuff, right? When you read, when you watch anime, when you want to get your friends into a show, you're just like, hey, watch a show. And that's it. It's like one sentence.
Oh, okay. You make a good point in terms of the YouTube stuff because people don't really go to YouTube to read manga,
Yeah.
and that's a huge reason. Like that's one of the, I guess, one of the better points you're making because YouTube is huge. But I feel like people are underestimating how easy it is to read manga. Like people don't even know about like apps and stuff. Like whenever I like post a screenshot of a chapter on my Twitter, they always ask me like, "Oh, where did you read this?" I feel like there's a
Mm,
huge disconnect between people knowing where to read manga and people knowing like a huge difference between people knowing where to read manga and people knowing where to watch anime.
mm.
Even though they're both fairly accessible, the only difference that I probably give to you is like the YouTube part, because that's pretty good point. Um, but yeah, dude, like manga is so easy to read now in 2020. I feel like most of the time people just don't want to read. That's more so
Yeah,
the
that's
reason.
that's what I was gonna say. I was like, you just like because I definitely agree with you that it's easy to find manga, which is way easier to find manga now. It's just like you underestimate how little people want to read
Yeah,
something.
yeah. I think it's more so that than it
Yeah,
being less accessible because
yeah,
it's
for sure.
accessible and it's accessible enough in my opinion.
Yeah, but
Eh,
like it's straight up easy to find manga if you're willing to do it. I think it's just
yeah,
that I don't think people are willing to do it
that's
so
fair.
much.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I,
if you
I
have
can
the
I,
right
I can
people,
agree with
some
that.
people like if you post like a meme chapter, like a meme screenshot from a manga or something, or like how people do Smash or fighting game edits to like manga stuff, like oh that was funny. What manga is that from? Yeah, those people exist. There's also the I don't want to read ever people
Oh
who
yeah,
exist.
plenty,
So
plenty of people like that.
yeah. But I mean, I think for sure anime is more easily to access than manga because you got to think about the normies too. So
Okay,
you're not gonna bait normies with manga. There's no way.
like the only reason I would agree with that slightly is because of YouTube. If it wasn't for YouTube, I'd say they're both like equally as accessible. But
Probably.
but people only are more interested in watching anime rather
Hmm.
than now reading manga because it's not accessible. They just want to watch something in anime form.
Yeah, and like anime's on Netflix too, so like it's there. Like
Yeah,
all like
that's true.
the classic Go anime, they're all on Netflix now.
That's true.
So
Netflix is pretty huge, and
so
YouTube.
you don't need an extra like subscription. Like you don't need Crunchyroll to watch like Ava or something. Like it's on
Mhm.
Netflix. Most people have Netflix,
Oh
even though I'm
shit,
not one
dude,
of them.
he's making
Yeah.
good points. Like, am I supposed to
Yeah.
disagree? Like, I can't disagree, dude. Like,
Yeah, but
oh, what?
that's a layup for anime though.
Yeah, like
That's
what
a
the fuck?
layup for anime.
What am I supposed to do? Okay, so pretty passionate about this point because I feel like most anime nowadays, if you watch most anime, you're literally wasting your time. Like it to me. Not every show, obviously. There's some good shows out there. But like One Piece, for example. Oh, this arc is good. The most recent arc is good. But the arcs before that, it's just like you're watching One Piece, right? And this is how this is what a One Piece episode is like. There's like something's happening, and then they have a shot of like four different people's reaction, like each in a row, like not at the same time. It's like each get like 2 to 3 seconds of one person's reaction, pretty much. And then they after that they like show the background, they show some clouds, and they zoom out, and it's just all like filler, even though it's not technically filler. Like the episode itself is canon. Within that episode, there's so many filler moments of nothing happening. Like that doesn't happen in manga. In manga, it's all like good story progression, and the pacing is great. Um, which is honestly the biggest reason why I tend to read manga over anime nowadays. It's like when I'm watching anime, it feels like a hassle sometimes. It's just like, damn, I'm not interested in any of this. I just want to see what happens with the story. And then in manga, I just get like the story right away. Like I don't have to sit through all the BS.
I'm not gonna lie. He kind of smoked me. Like like to be honest, like so anime. This is the counterpoint though. This is the counterpoint. He's kind of right. I'm just starting with he's kind of right, but the only thing I could say about time management for anime is like when you're going into like One Piece is like the Odyssey basically. It's so long, right? So you don't know whether or not you want to get into something like that. So I feel like you can dip your toes in with anime, and they do this with a lot of anime where like there is, let's say, like there's a whole series, something like 200 chapters, but then it finally gets some popular enough to get an anime. Then the anime is like 13 episodes, so the anime only covers like the beginning, like hey, this is what's going on, and then like an arc or two, and then by then, because there's already fans that exist. So by then, when you watch those 13 episodes, you can make up your mind on whether or not you're willing to commit all this time into a manga, as opposed to your friend being like, yo, man, this manga's OD, and you're reading it, and you're like, so when is it good? I'm on chapter like 97. Like, so for instance, I read Seven Deadly Sins before the anime came out. One of the
Yeah.
biggest mistakes I made because I read like 105 chapters, and I was like, bro, this is sleep. But the beginning was good, which got me really upset. So when the anime came out and people were watching it like week by week, because when it's live, it's coming out week by week. They're like, "Yo, this is really good. I'm about to read the manga." I was like, "No, no, 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 no! Don't do that. Please do not do that, because the anime does not go at that time. At least I don't know how many episodes there are now, but at that time, the anime did not get very far in the manga, so it was like a kind of exciting part. That's so the only thing I can say for anime is like it can save you from wasting a lot of time potentially, but he makes an extremely good point where the opposite exists, where like Bleach has a whole filler season that my friends told me to skip
Yeah.
because it was a waste of time. So that's I think the only point I could defend on anime is that you might be saved from wasting way more time by watching anime. If you watch like if it's like a 13 episode season, you watch a couple of episodes and you're like, I don't like this that much, or like when does this get good or whatever, then you definitely don't want to go into like the 100+ chapter manga edition of that. It's a good way to dip your toes in.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
for sure.
if
Like
you're into the thing, so like if it's like you read something in the manga and then there's an anime for it, you're like, man, I can't wait to like hear people act this out and see how they animate it. Yeah,
yeah.
but like at least from the anime perspective here, it's like the nice safe thing. They do this all the time, by the way, because they do this all the time where they don't do like super long running series very often anymore. They just do like 13 to 26 episodes of something that exists that they know is popular. And then like if people like it, then they go to the other mediums. But there's usually a ton of more shit there. So it's a good way to find out whether or not you'll actually like something. Because if you don't like the anime, then you're definitely not gonna like the manga. Like the manga usually is the same ish, like 70 to 80% the same.
Um,
So
I think I'm gonna have to disagree on that part, like the last part, because there's plenty of manga where it's just completely different from the anime, and I can give you examples
that's
too.
fair. That's fair. That's fair. You're right. I'm talking more about like especially the more recent, because now it's like more about marketing stuff. So I I felt from comparing like more recent stuff. I don't watch as much anime as I used to actually, but like
Yeah,
in more
same.
recent, starting from like 2008 or so. So starting from like Haruhi, basically, it got more correct. Like in like 90s, it used to be like there was always huge differences all the time. but like starting from like around Haruhi days, like 2006 or so, it
Yeah.
started getting to line up like about 75 to 80% instead of being like 40% the same or like less.
Okay.
Like the anime being totally different from the manga. You read the manga, you're like, yo, what is this? Or something.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I think what's anime is cursed by the fact that sometimes there's like okay, so take a manga like Tower of God, for example, which is technically
Mhm.
a manhwa. It's a Korean manga or a webtoon
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it has like so many chapters, right? It has like 500, 600 plus chapters or something.
Mhm.
And they try to make an anime adaptation out of it. Um, and they did. It's on Crunchyroll. But the problem with that is the anime adaptation only has like 13 episodes.
Yeah.
So they have to like condense a lot of the stuff in 13 episodes. So what's gonna happen is a lot of the details, a lot of the stuff that you read in the manga just straight up isn't in the anime. Like they just don't show it.
Mm.
The same happened with God of High School. Like literally same exact thing that people were complaining about. There are a lot of cool fights in the anime, but there was no setup. Like they didn't have enough character development, enough story progression up until the fights. So basically, they condense whatever they have into like a few episodes because they don't have a choice. They only get like one
Yeah.
season worth of episodes. So that still definitely happens. Although I do agree with you that it's happening less. It used to happen a lot more. So it's getting better. Those two are just like, I guess,
Really
exceptions.
stand out examples.
Yeah.
I mean, those things are really long too, and that's what I'm saying. Like, if you watch that, like, let's say, because I know about those two, like I know about those two manhwa. I'm not like a big manhwa reader, really, but I know about them. They're really big. But like,
Mhm.
let's say like I watched the anime from them, so I have no context about all these details and stuff. I'm just like, yo, yo, and then you read the manhwa, and you're like, oh my god, there's like so much more. And then, okay, but if you watch that, and you're like, this is sleep. They're just punching each other. Then you're not gonna read. I mean, you might read the manhwa, and it might the extra context might be better for you. But for the most part, it's probably not gonna do anything for you. So you just saved yourself reading a couple of hundred chapters of time. Like a couple hundred chapters takes like a week. That's like a week of your life reading like a couple hours a day. That's a long time.
Oh yeah, I
For
mean
the anime.
it does technically save you time because it's all condensed into like an anime, and you're
Yeah.
gonna miss out a lot of stuff. So you're technically missing out. You're technically not losing time, like you're winning time, you're gaining time, but you are losing a lot of the lore and like the stuff about the story. So it's like a trade off, I'd say.
Yeah,
And I-
it's totally like an ad for me. It's like if you like it like this, if you like the Spark Notes version basically of it, then like you'll like the actual like you going into the full version and investing all that time is not going to be a waste of time for you, as opposed to like you don't like it, but then for some reason you read not for some reason someone might tell you the manga is better, but then you're
yeah,
reading the manga and you're like I still don't like this and it's longer.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's fair. I usually like I've had examples where I watch the anime and I'm like, yeah, this is pretty cool, but I want to know what happens next, and then I just read the entire manga. Like
Mhm.
that's happened a lot. That's happened with like
Happened in Boku no Hero for me. I watched anime. I was like, this is lit. And then I got like there were only 50 episodes in. I got to like chapter 180 and I started looking for JP chapters just to make sure I was like super ahead because I really got into it. That's like the a really strong thing about anime, I think. I lose. I lose for anime fans toxics. They mad toxic. I
really,
was like,
really. I was about
yeah.
to say about to say I'm gonna lose because the manga
I think it's
community is
easy.
toxic too, bro. Like
Yeah, no, you
everybody has
can't
like a
win.
everybody has like a superiority complex where it's like, dude, if you haven't read the manga, then you're trash. Like if you're
Yeah.
only watching the anime, you're trash, dude. You don't know anything about the show. There's a lot of people like that, you know. And
Yeah. This one might be over. I think they're equally toxic. I'm not gonna lie. They're equally toxic. The manga people are like super stuck up, like, oh my god, you don't know anything yet if you haven't read the manga. And then like the anime people are like, no, first of all, we're fine. Second of all, they're the majority. So like while the manga minority is like being like pinky out about reading the manga, all the anime fans are going absolutely ham about the
yeah,
most random stuff. Like a character could like turn left and be like, oh my god, I'm getting married to this character, and like all this crazy shit. Or and then if you don't watch their anime because there's way more of them, and you're like, oh my god, I don't like watching JoJo's. I don't like that. They just maul you. Like it's so bad. You cannot escape. It's so
yeah.
bad. I think they're equally bad.
Well, the JoJo community in particular
In particular,
is something else, man.
yeah, it doesn't help they keep sticking JoJo references in everything. Like, okay, I get it. It's cool to go like this. You know, I get it. It's dope. But like, come on, bro. Come on, bro.
Yeah, I'd say they're
Yeah.
both toxic
They're about the
in their
same.
in their
Yeah.
own special way, you know. Okay, so I feel like for new people that are completely new to anime or manga, I would definitely recommend anime over manga because, like Lord Knight said, most people don't like to read. So, like, if they're already unfamiliar with the media, like, I'm not gonna recommend them something they have to read when they can just watch Dead Note, like the anime, which is also good. The biggest difference with that between anime and manga for me is manga is manga has better pacing, no fillers, and sometimes the art goes crazy hard, and you can't really replicate any of those in anime. But like, oh, and manga is more consistent too. But like, anime has higher peaks because it has soundtrack and animation. It's slightly more accessible and it's more popular, like mainstream wise. So there's more people you can talk to about with like anime shows. There's less people you can talk to about manga. So if you're new to the media, like I'd recommend anime because it'll give them more of a community feeling, if they can talk to other people about the same show. Um, so for me personally, I always recommend Death Note to somebody that hasn't seen anime at all. Just like go ahead and watch Death Note. And if you still don't like anime, then like whatever. But if you like anime, then I'll come back to you with more shows I can recommend. That's
Cause,
why though. That's
cause
why.
yeah, cause you have to get them. You can't recommend. Okay. So for instance, like I meme a lot. Like people are like, "Oh my god, what's your favorite anime?" Okay, I go High School DxD. But if that's obviously a meme anime, if you know anime, right? But like if my neighbor who's never watched anime before, I'm not gonna tell them to watch a show like that. Like they're gonna watch that and they're gonna be like, "What is this shit?" Like I'm not ever watching this ever again. So you have to hit them with a 10 out of 10. You have to hit
Yeah.
them with a 10 out of 10 to hook them, and then you can recommend other stuff and find their taste. I think what Mr.R basically said is the right thing. Like the only thing I would add is like if you're new to watching anime, definitely watch one of like the big the because like a lot of like the 10 out of 10 anime are so good that they kind of, and this is why animes pop in the first place, right? Like they broke out of the shell of just being anime and they're like just shows to people. Like things like Ava and Death Note and stuff, they're just like shows to people that happen to be animated. So like showing them anything like that is probably like a good way to get like someone who doesn't know anything about anime at all. For someone who's like a new fan, like they've watched a couple of things and they just don't know like what to watch, I would say like whatever is popular like right now is not a bad start actually because it's popular for a reason. And like basically like every year there's a couple of like really popular shows that you can probably get into if you just like look on Twitter what's going on. Like I like the way he recommended Death Note. I usually recommend somebody to watch the Fate Stay Night movies because they're super. Because this is one thing that I slightly disagree with. Like manga art goes ham sometimes, but like when the right animation company gets their hands on the right uh like IP basically, then they go nuts. And like Fate is a really good example of that, where it's insane how high quality it is and how good it is. So I usually tend to recommend people to watch stuff like that, and then from talking to them, like see like what parts do they like? Like, do they like the parts where like there's something really serious going on and they're talking about like I don't know like some real shit like philosophy or whatever? Do they like bright colors and things exploding? And then you kind of just direct yourself into your lane of the thing you want to watch, and eventually you get into it so much that you watch shitters like I do.
Yeah. Like I'll
Yeah.
recommend them Death Note, but like depending on what they like about Death Note, I'll recommend them something like similar to what they like. Yeah, it's like if I'm gonna disagree with him, I'm gonna be literally lying to myself.
This is a what do you think is best sort of thing. Like there, if I had to recommend somebody a manga, for instance, it's mildly difficult to do that. I feel like compared to anime is super easy to recommend to people. Like
Yeah.
anime, for instance, like Death Note. Like Death Note is definitely on Netflix. Like Ava is definitely on Netflix. Fate is definitely on Netflix. All those are definitely on Netflix. So you can just be like, yo, just check this out. Sometimes Netflix just be recommending you anime randomly, like just to see if you're interested.
Yep.
So like it's there. Like for manga, like usually people don't pull up on you being like, yo, I've never read manga before without watching an anime. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah. That doesn't happen. Like nobody
Yeah,
ever
it's
comes
pretty
here.
uncommon. It's
That doesn't
pretty,
happen at
pretty,
all. Yeah.
pretty uncommon. If you're new to reading manga, then like the main thing I would recommend to people probably is that if they get one of the apps that Mr. R talked about before, most of the manga apps they let you bookmark manga that you like, and some of them will recommend you manga based on what you like already. So you can build yourself a library like pretty quickly based on your tastes.
Yep.
But you have to be willing to explore a bit because there is so much more manga than anime out there, like
Yeah.
quite a bit more. So every year they probably release like I'm gonna make up a random number like 50 or so different
Oh,
shows.
way more.
Way more. I just made up numbers.
Yeah.
I don't actually know. And then for take that number and then multiply it by like 5 or 6, and that's how much probably like 10 or 20 to be honest. And that's how much new manga are coming out like every year. You know?
Yeah. There's no way somebody that
Cool.
hasn't seen any anime or manga is gonna be like, yo, I want to read some manga. Like that's
Yeah,
not gonna
that's
happen.
that's not gonna happen. That's not
They're
gonna
gonna
happen.
they're gonna want to watch anime first.
Mhm.
All right, guys, that was it for us. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time.